Good morning. So today we're going to take what we learned about dot plots and median in the past few lessons and put them together when we actually compare two dot plots. And we'll also be seeing this when we compare two box plots as well, but that's going to be coming up later in tag. So if we look at the dot plot below, it says which answer choice has the correct median for Team A and Team B. So we have dot plots that show the heights of players on two basketball teams, so Team A and Team B. So if we're really focusing on median in this question, we could go through and use our strategies from yesterday when we looked at that lesson specifically on median. However, because in 7th grade we usually see questions that are comparing data displays, then we need to come up with a way to compare data displays no matter what the question's asking, because these answer choices may not include median. They may actually include other things. And so the way we start is a graphic organizer, which is this really cool strategy that another teacher taught me a couple years ago. So we're going to go ahead and create almost like a T chart or like an H chart. And I'm going to put the labels of my displays in the top. So Team A, Team B, or you could put A and B, whatever is your preference. And so we're going to look for several things within our problem, which is first the maximum. So go ahead and write that down. The minimum, the range, the median, and then the mode. And we could also find the last one, which is the mean. And so maybe we'll get to that as well, depending on our time. So with dot plots, we will always look for these 6 things because we can see answer choices that include all 6, the maximum, the minimum, the range, the median, the mode, and the mean. Whereas box plots, this part right here changes, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so when we're talking about the maximum, we know we're talking about the greatest number that we can see that's plotted on our dot plot. So for Team A, I see the greatest number that's plotted on our dot plot is 83. So I'm going to put that under Team A. And I see that the greatest number on Team B is 84. So I'm going to go put that under Team B here. Then they want to know the minimum, or in other words, the least or the smallest number that's plotted on our dot plot, which is 72. I see a dot above 72. And then for Team B, it is also 72. And the reason we are writing this in the order of maximum first and then minimum is because when we look for the range, we know that we subtract these two numbers together. So it's nice to have the bigger number on top so that we can subtract and find the range all within our table. So it's a really cool trick this teacher taught me, which I love, and it just makes it so much easier for students. So 83 minus 72. So the range for Team A is 11, whereas the range for Team B is 12. So now that we found our range, we can go ahead and start finding our median, which I know our question is specifically asking. We just wanted to make sure we had both parts. And so this is where it's very critical that if we're not going to list the data like out writing 72, 73, 74, right? We could do that, 72, 73. Let's see, there's 2 74s. And then we could cross it off from left to right, dot, dot, dot. I personally like to go through the dot plot display itself, but that means we need to be counting the way I count out loud so that we make sure we are crossing out pairs of data at a time. So let me show you an example. So I'm going to go from left to right, and I'm going to say 1, 1. So that was my first pair. Then I'm going to go to the next one and say 2, 2. And so on and so forth so that we can count them off in pairs. So 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. I think we get the idea, so I'm going to go a little bit faster. 6 and 6, 7 and 7, 8 and 8, 9 and 9, 10 and 10, 11 and 11, 12 and 12, and I'm left with this dot point up here, which would make the median 78. Okay, so remember, we're going to cross off pairs 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5, 6 and 6, 7 and 7, 8 and 8, 9 and 9. I have 2 numbers now as the median, and this is why we have to cross them off in pairs, because if we just go 1, 2, 3, 4, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, we will only get 1 median here when in fact there are 2, and it is 79 and 80. And so I need to think about what number goes exactly in the middle of 79 and 80. And we know there's no whole number, right? So I got to start thinking about parts of whole numbers, so like decimals or fractions. And the way that we find that out is by finding the average or by finding the mean. And the way we find the mean, let's refresh from 6th grade, is we add all the numbers up. So in this case, it would be 159. And then we divide by how many numbers there are. So we just added two numbers together. So I have to divide 159 by 2. And I know that's 0, 7, 14. Let's bring down the 1, bring down the 9, 18, 1, decimal 0. So I have to add the decimal and another placeholder. And that gets to be 5. That means the median of Team B is 79.5. So I hope we really starred this and paid attention to this part, because when there are two medians, we do not just write both of them. We want the truest middle, and we do that by adding them up and dividing by 2 or finding the average. So now we have left is the mode, which is the most, or the one that has more often data points than any other data point. So I see here for Team A that it would be 78 has the most. And then I see for Team B, 80 has the most dots plotted above it. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to ours. Team A was 78. Team B was 80. And then finally, the average would be when we add up all of these dot plots and then divide by how many there are. So let's just make note of that, because we're going to actually stop there in the interest of time. So add up all data points and divide by how many there are. Oh dear, what happened? How many data points there are? And so there may still be questions that ask for the mean. Typically, we're pretty good with the ones that we have found here in our chart so that we can compare them. So that's why we're just going to leave this as a note that we add to our notebook. And so now we can look at the answer choices. Team A's median is 78. Is that true? So I look about here. Team's median is 78. That's correct. Team B's median is 79. Is that correct? Nope. So cross it out. That one's not right. Let's look at answer choice B. Team A's median is 78. We said that's right. Team B's median is 80. No, it's not. We got to cross that one out. Let's look at answer choice C. Team A's median is 78. We said yes. Team B's median is 79.5, which is correct. So before we move on and say, okay, great, it's answer choice C, let's double check D. Team A's median is 79. No, it's not. It's 78. But Team B's median is 79.5. However, that one was not correct for both. So our answer choice is C. So let's just stamp that when we are comparing data displays, we need to draw out our graphic organizer that includes the maximum, the minimum, the range, the median, and the mode. This will be for all data displays. And when we look at box plots later, this number 6 will either be the mean for dot plots, or it will be the IQR for, the mean for dot plots or the IQR for box plots. And so we're going to practice comparing a little more on our own.